Welcome to I Love This Thing So Frigging Much, a podcast about passion. My name is Sophie Katz, and today I am joined by Tucker, a creative writer and co-owner of Bear and Pixie Art Studio. Welcome to the show, Tucker.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. So, here is how this works. Tucker will have 3 minutes to talk about something that he loves. This can be a person, place, thing, concept, activity, anything he wants. Our only requirement is that he loves it wholeheartedly and wants to tell us why. Are you ready, Tucker?
Absolutely.
Got my timer here. Now, what do you love so frigging much?
I love storytelling and illustration so frigging much. Part of my whole childhood has been a love of everything when it comes to stories, whether that's comic books, movies, TV shows, even video games come into play when it comes to a good story. And all throughout my life, I've been really fascinated by it. It's why I really want to be a writer. And I've even started to try and teach myself how to draw as a way to hopefully put my ideas just from written word into made illustration by the end of it. And so what I really love about story and illustration is when both of those work in tandem to really create strong characters, powerful themes that really impact people and help them progress forward as a person, and deep world building that makes you want to come back into that world and find out more about it and learn more about the characters that live within it. And so those are all the things that I really love. And I am very passionate about some of my stories, especially when they get handled improperly. And so all throughout my life, I've loved a bunch of different franchises. And so it's been interesting to see some of them become really successful and get better and better as they go along. And it's been really disheartening sometimes to see my favorite franchises go down in flames at times, whether that's been Star Wars recently or The Last of Us, which is just released its second installment not too long ago, or other kinds of stuff like that. So really, I could talk about this forever. But those are all the things that I really love, is storytelling and illustration, and kind of finding out what makes an amazing story or an amazing illustration, and what makes a really horrible story or illustration. And so that's all that I love, really, so freaking much when it comes to storytelling and illustration.
All right, then. Thank you for telling us about storytelling and illustration today.
Well, you're welcome. I love talking about it.
That's the whole point of the show. I want to get right into what was that last point you made. You said what makes an amazing or horrible illustration. Tell me a little bit about that. What makes it amazing, and maybe what makes it horrible?
Well, on the illustration side, I think the thing that makes any illustration amazing or horrible depends on all the elements of it. How the layouts, on a technical level, you could look at the layout of an illustration, the colors that it uses, if those go together, if the colors go together, or if it just doesn't visually meld, if they don't really know what they're trying to tell, because even illustrations without words should at all times try to tell some kind of story. And so when it comes to an illustration, if it's an illustration just there to look pretty and to sit up on your wall, that's great, and people love those kinds of things and buy those for their houses a lot, but it's not really the kind of illustration that I really enjoy. I like stuff that really tries to tell something new, or tell something that allows every person that interacts with it to grow deeper as a person. And when it comes to storytelling, I think what makes amazing storytelling and what makes horrible storytelling depends a lot on the ideas behind why you make a story. If you're really interested in telling a story about these characters that you have developed for a long time, that you really feel like you know, that they're real people, and you want to show them because they're flawed, and you want to explore kind of the things throughout life that all of us as humanity faces and tries to grow past. That's an interesting grounds for a story. If you want to have a powerful theme about, like if you're talking about a Spider-Man story, the usual theme of that is great power and great responsibility, or thinking about, okay, what does it take to really be somebody who is selfless and somebody who takes care of other people, and or even another powerful theme of when is it okay to take care of yourself over other people. And so there's so many powerful themes that you can use to tell great stories. And so if you're just telling a story because, well, unfortunately in Hollywood, if you're just wanting to make money, I think that's really bad storytelling. And there's a bunch of other reasons that make awesome storytelling and really horrible storytelling. But I think I'd run out of time here if I went on for too much longer.
And no worries. Let's stick with Spider-Man for a moment, because you mentioned that comic books and video games and things like that, you seeing other storytelling and illustration inspired you to work on it. Do you have any examples that stand out in your head of how the illustration has told the story in whatever medium of Spider-Man story you choose?
Yeah. So a lot of, well, probably my favorite piece of Spider-Man storytelling isn't the comic that was made by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, or the original one in 1962 with Amazing Fantasy number 15. I'm a huge Spider-Man nerd, if you haven't known that already. I probably could have done a whole episode on Spider-Man. But probably my favorite example of Spider-Man storytelling would have to be Spider-Man 2, which was directed by Sam Raimi and had Tobey Maguire playing in it as Peter Parker and Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane. Though that movie is incredible. The cinematography, on the illustration side of things, there was a lot of different shots that the movie used to tell where Peter Parker was emotionally, how the world was just out to just make his day horrible and make him kind of see how Spider-Man got in the way of him actually being able to be Peter Parker. And throughout that whole movie, you get to see how he wrestles with, why can't I be happy? Must I always give up the things that I want or the things that I need to be Spider-Man for all these other people? And so he wrestles with that. And so visually, the story tells that with incredible shots, like when Peter Parker leaves his Spider-Man suit in the dumpster, kind of echoing an old comic book cover, saying that he'll be Spider-Man no more. Or when he's sitting in the in a car in a flashback in his mind with Uncle Ben, telling him, "Hey, I can't be Spider-Man anymore. I can't live your dream for you anymore." So there's those moments are really cool, and then the writing itself is great too. It takes an amalgam of a bunch of different Spider-Man stories, rolls them all into one, and uses incredible dialogue and just really tight pacing and storytelling to kind of communicate all these really powerful themes like I was just talking about.
Yeah, as soon as you started talking about that movie, it's been years since I've seen that movie, but the image of the suit in the dumpster while he walks away just popped into my head. So I'm really glad that you said that, because that just is a testament to that kind of image that just sticks with you.
Yeah, it is, very much.
You mentioned before that illustration can be used for world building. Could you give some examples of how that can be done?
Yeah. So a lot of people, when they try to make a story, because I think storytelling and illustration are a really hard balance to strike. A lot of times people will lean on one or the other to do the whole job, when really it should be a balance of both. For example, Star Wars prequels had a really big problem when trying to go all storytelling and really tell you everything without showing you much. So a good example of this between both Star Wars trilogies are when you look at New Hope, right? Episode 4 of Star Wars, and you go into Old Ben's hut where Luke just met this Obi-Wan Kenobi character, and you see what he's got, and all of the things that are inside of Old Ben's hut kind of tell of the story of how he kind of got there, why he's there, the kind of person he is. And then as you kind of go throughout that whole movie, you'll even see things about Darth Vader, just the way that he moves and the way that he talks and how he treats people, that kind of speak volumes of who his character is. And they do that with every single character. Even the Millennium Falcon, when you talk about Han Solo, just looking at the Millennium Falcon on the inside and outside, it's all beat up, it's trashed. You can definitely tell that Han Solo just got done with his old job and he's trying to look for some fast money so he can get out of Jabba the Hutt's crosshairs. And so it's just through those kind of visual methods, you can see who these characters are and kind of tell, like, okay, Han Solo's a scoundrel. He's a guy who's hurting for money, and he's always willing to do anything it takes just to get money. And if it's not financially beneficial for him, Han Solo's going to say, "See ya, I'm out." But with the prequel trilogy, they kind of had to tell you everything. There were moments with Obi-Wan and Anakin where they needed to really kind of explain and kind of show us more, use illustration a little bit more to tell us about the relationship and why they're friends, instead of just telling us, "Oh man," at the beginning of episode 2, one thing that really kind of I think speaks to this is there's a whole just elevator ride where Anakin and Obi-Wan are on this elevator and they're talking to each other about, oh, you remember when we fought that nest of Gundarks? And it's like, okay, well, that's cool, but why not show us that? Show us that them being friends and them going through these crazy adventures together and show their relationship instead of just telling, oh, hey, it was, remember that time that the audience hasn't seen, but that can tell, that we can use to explain that we're friends, that we like each other. And so there's a lot of lazy storytelling when it comes to the Star Wars prequels, but I still love them anyway. They've got some great little moments of amazingness all laced throughout them. But that's a great example of not using illustration enough when it comes to making a good story. Because there is a great balance between the two. You need to have both in ways.
Absolutely. Tucker, thank you so much for telling us about something you love today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was just a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. If you would like to learn more about storytelling and illustration or our guest, Tucker, you can find some links to his work in the episode description. And don't forget to use the hashtag #LoveThisThingCast to tell us about the things you love. I Love This Thing So Frigging Much is a production of Through the Window Media. This episode was directed by Sophie A. Katz and edited by Melissa Block. You can find us at Through the Window on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. That is THROU, the window, at all those social media sites. Be good to yourself, be kind to each other, and you'll hear from us again soon.